So welcome everybody. It looks like we've got quite a few people on, and I'm sure more will hop on as you know we get going. But welcome to our monthly live event. We're really excited to have Aaron here. He's going to talk about his pro laptop bag course, and this month at Makers Leather Supply. Illume partnered with them to do the project box. And so we've invited all of the project box purchasers for the Pro Laptop Bag to come and join us tonight as well. So that's exciting. That's something we've not ever done. Usually this is members only, but we thought, we had a lot of people purchase the bag, and what a really great opportunity for them to, ask Aaron questions and get some insight into the build and the course and all of the things. So I guess I need to brag a little bit about our, I always call him our on the team celebrity, because he's kind of a celebrity wherever I get to go with Aaron. It cracks me up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, here he is. Would you like an autograph? Would you like a photo? I will do it. But I think Aaron's earned that recognition and that respect, and just real authentic admiration in the community because of everything that he's done for the community. He's spent many years making videos on YouTube and helping so many, I would imagine many of you, even learn the art of leathercraft. So we are thrilled that Aaron gets to be on our team, and that we get to work with him every single day, and that he has happily volunteered, wink, wink, to be here tonight. So without further ado, let's just dive into what we're here for. We're going to talk about that pro laptop bag. I've got a few things written down because, just knowing a little bit. I've never made a bag personally, but knowing what it takes, I know there are some pieces and parts that are pretty important. So to kick it off and just get the ball rolling, Aaron, I'm going to let you just say what you want to say, but then I'm thinking, let's talk skiving. Let's talk about it, because I think it's really important, and I know you do too.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thanks for all the flattering words. I think I owe you like $20 or something now. But
just take me to Mexican food when I come next time, okay?
Right.
That's all I need.
Let's go to Tacos Oasis. So, yeah. So I'm not gonna lie. When Misty was like, "Let's do the laptop bag as a project box," all I could see was, oh my gosh, like that's so much clicking and skiving and everything else. But with the integration of the Burns team and everything, it was seamless. It was flawless. It was amazing. It went really well as far as I can tell. Yeah, and then getting the Illume video out to everybody seemed to work really well this time, and just super excited. Everything went really well. But yeah, I did have the foresight. I was at work today and I grabbed one of these laptop bags because I thought, man, it'd be dumb if I was doing this video and I didn't have one to show. So anyway, so I did grab one and throw it in my truck. This one is exactly like what we sent out in the kit, minus I put a little handle wrap on this one. And honestly, that's a part that I don't normally do because to me, it's more annoying than it is useful. I don't use it very often, and when I'm not buttoning it up, it's in the way. So it's not part of the kit that went out for the project box. But other than that, here it is. It's got the main handles, of course, and the straps that go down the side. Has an exterior pocket. right here has its shoulder straps attachments right here and here. And then when you unzip it, it's fairly simple on the inside, but you could always modify yours however you like. So when I unzip it, there's my shoulder strap right there. We'll talk about it in just a second. I do have some paper in here. And then this one, just like how I did in the video, this one is built with padding in the back side of it. And yeah, but it's got a laptop sleeve right there. This one I did not bind the edges, which tells me I probably built this one in a live class because there's just not time for that.
Nope.
So yeah, other than that, we've got our shoulder strap, which is got an adjustable buckle on it, and the swivel snaps on the ends, and then a shoulder pad that slides on it too. So that is what everyone should be able to build using their kit. And then, of course, having the pattern available through Illume and everything. And then I think there was a printed pattern in the box. Yeah, that's what we've got. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, Rusty, thanks for the question already. He's asking what's the best way to increase the size for a 17-inch laptop.
I recently did for a custom order. I did make one for a 17-inch laptop because right now, like a 15, 16 fit in it, but a 17, I mean, that is a big laptop. And anyway, I honestly, I wish I was more prepared for that question and had the actual dimensions that I made the two rectangular pieces. But I want to say that I added like 2 inches to the width of it. And then when I put that into Adobe Illustrator, which is what I use to draw a lot of patterns, I just did it to where, if I add 2 inches here, then it adds like 1.5 this way. And so that was all I changed. But basically I measured a 17-inch laptop just to make sure of, that it would fit when I expanded it.
Cool. Okay. Christopher has a question about the pattern. He says, I'd like to better understand the choice of using a paper template over an acrylic one. Were there specific advantages or constraints that influenced that decision?
Not necessarily. With shipping things, a lot of the time, any kind of a template, we would have needed a much larger box. And then also when we ship templates and leather in the same box, there is always a risk of one breaking the other or the template really scuffing up the leather. And when you're shipping out a couple of hundred of these things, it's too much risk.
Right. Well, and with the course, the Illume course, we just always do a downloadable paper pattern.
Yeah.
And so wanted that to be consistent as well. But
the paper pattern that came in the box, my suggestion to everybody is get some of that spray glue and spray you some, the poster board. Spray down some poster board, spray down the back of the pattern, lay it out there nice and flat, and then you've got a template, which granted you have to be a little careful with it, but it is a template that'll help a lot more than just pieces of paper sitting on top of leather.
Yeah, agreed. Reinforce. Okay. Sherry Cronin asks, will a nylon coil zipper work for this bag?
Yeah, it can work just the same. I would use, my suggestion would be a number 5 size, but a nylon zipper would work just as well. Because a lot of metal zippers are very difficult to do the 2-way zipper thing, but nylon ones, of course, are just really nice and smooth, and so it would work fine.
Cool. I love it. Keep the questions coming. I'll keep firing them at Aaron, but I do want to talk about skiving because I know it's a really important piece of the project. And I know, when we put together project boxes and if there is any skiving, we always make sure to do that for the community so they don't have to. So tell it. Let's just talk about it. Why is it important?
So, especially in bag making or any project where you sew it inside out and then you turn it right side out, the skiving really helps with what I call a back lack of a better term, I call it a butt joint. If you don't skive and you sew these two pieces together like this, when you turn them inside out or right side out, it that seam's going to look like a butt crack. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not going to turn nicely and it's not going to lay flat. And yeah, which so skiving is really important, especially if you're using thicker leather or more rigid leather, something that's firm. Um, it's just really going to help the professionalism level of your project. So I tell people if you're gonna do a lot of bags and stuff, a skiving machine is just as important, if not more important, than a sewing machine. Because to
yeah,
be very honest, I cannot skive thin leather super easily by hand, but or not thin, but soft leathers.
right.
It's very difficult for me to skive them by hand, but I could sew that by hand, no problem. So honestly, I tell people all the time, if I only had one machine that plugged in, I would have a skiver before I had a sewing machine.
Yeah,
So,
I have heard him say that many, many, many times. Would anybody agree?
and, and then the other thing with the skiving machine, you can use it to do small splitting runs on straps and things like that. Like the piping that was in the kit, that was the same thickness as the rest of the leather, and we ran it through a skiver to split it down nice and thin so that it made pretty piping.
Right, right. So, I mean, okay, so what is your recommendation? Obviously, like we've already skived all the pieces and parts in the project box. But if you are joining us and you did not purchase a project box and you want to go ahead and try to build this laptop bag and you don't have a skiver, what then? What then is, is because
Um,
we are working with softer leather. It's not, you know, skirting. It's different.
yeah. So yeah, the recommended leather for this project is usually like a 5 to 6 ounce like bag and shap type leather, and basically if it's a thicker leather like that, then it needs to be extremely soft and pliable. Or if it's a thinner leather like a 4 ounce or even 3 to 4 ounce, then maybe you wouldn't need skiving, but it also needs to be firm enough for the project. Um, right now we're doing the class kits for the classes that I'm about to give in Pendleton, Oregon, and Salina, Utah, and here in Waco. And the leather that we're using is just this really awesome bison leather. But to be very honest, it's a little bit thinner than what I would use to make this bag. But what it makes up for is it also has some rigidity to it.
Mm,
So, people all the time are like, oh, well, what thickness of leather would you make this out of or that out of? And it's such a variable thing because the firmness of the leather directly correlates to how thick it can or can't be for a certain project. So yeah. So again, you could make it out of something a little bit thinner if it's got just a slight bit of firmness to it. And then you wouldn't probably need to skive as much, or maybe not even at all. There's still a couple of seams I would probably skive just to try to keep the bulk down. But
right. Rusty said that the Skyver was definitely the best purchase he has made. And he said he's hand skived the backpack, your backpack course, and that almost killed him. So then he got a Skyver.
exactly. I mean, you don't know. Before I got good with a skiver, and honestly, I had one for a couple of years, and I just couldn't figure out how to use the thing. It is a very finicky. It seems like a very finicky machine until you learn the proper adjustment of it and everything. And there were times I would start out making a project that was supposed to be this big, but by the time I got the skiving done, I might have screwed up a few edges, and now it's only this big because the project just keeps getting smaller as I have to cut an edge off.
I can see me doing that.
Yeah.
Ah, that's too
Started
funny.
out as a briefcase, but now it's just a small medicine kit.
Ah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, okay, let's talk about because there are a couple variations in the course. Um, for this bag, you've got a small pocket version and then also a big pocket version. So, um, let's talk about, I guess, why we included both variations for this project, and if for some reason small works good for this or large works good for that. Let's just talk about that.
So the reason that there's two variations for this bag, and actually I have Braden to thank for it. But when we first put out the laptop bag, he's like, "Man, it'd be really cool if the style of the bag kind of matched your other bags." Because originally it just had the large pocket on the front, and I was like, "Well, that would be very easy. We put the two little straps up the sides or the front of it with the
Yeah,
pocket in between, just like that." Because the large pocket, it goes all the way across. These are only attached at the top. There's no straps on the side of the bag, but it also has a very large zippered pocket. Now, when I'm traveling, I like that big, large zippered pocket. I unzip it, put all my plane tickets and stuff in there. When I'm going through security, all my crap goes into that pocket. Um, anyway, and that's why the bag originally just had that. But it was a great point that building it like this, it matches our duffel bag and it also matches our overnight bag to build it in this style. And so that was honestly never something I'd even thought of. And so I'm really glad that he brought it up.
I think that's a really good point for anybody that's on here that maybe, for whatever reason, when you're building stuff, especially if you have an Etsy store or you're going to the farmers markets or you're taking your products, you know, to the masses to sell, it is important. Those little cohesive details really just elevate your display. They encourage your customers, potential buyers, to buy things in sets because they're like, "Ooh, there's the duffel, but my laptop bag, and then the DOP kit or the this." So it encourages like collection buying. So that's a really good point. So anybody that maybe is doing that, that's something to just consider and think about as you're making things. How can I work in these certain design elements and details to keep that a little bit consistent, so we encourage buyers to become collection buyers. Anyways, okay, I love that. We have a question. What is the shade of the leather that was included should someone want to make a matching bag? Oh, good point. A collection bag.
Okay, so there there were three different leathers that this was cut out of. They all belong to our Legacy Ranch collection. If it was kind of a reddish brown, I'll have to look it up. Honestly, we call those colors something kind of funny on the website. They're not just like brown and tan. Let me get on the maker's website right quick.
I know, I'm like, let me see.
No. All right, here we go. All right. So if it's kind of a saddle tan color, we call that bronc. If it is no, hang on. Is there a missing color in this? Sorry, the reddish brown color is bronc. The dark brown is broken horse. And I'm not seeing the saddle tan color. Yeah, saddle tan, we're just calling saddle tan. And that's the one I was holding up is the saddle tan color.
I just
Yeah.
dropped the link to that leather, the leather that we used, in the chat. So you all have that. So if you want to purchase that, like the leather, like the way it pulls up, like the way it, it works, it sews, it skives, it looks, whatever, that's there.
We
So
started selling this leather a couple of years ago at Makers, and honestly, like it's my favorite bag making leather. I mean, it just seems to work for almost everything. I'm a huge fan for like saddle tan colors mixed with dark brown, like the bag that I just held up a while ago. That is by far my most favorite color of leather, no matter which kind of leather we're talking about, to use. And so, yeah, it's just a really great and kind of easygoing leather. It's not difficult to make things out of. It's not difficult to skive. It's very easy to sew. It's good stuff.
it's just good. I love it. Um, okay. Any other questions? Because I have some more. No? Okay, I'm going for it. Let's talk about lining. Because sometimes lining can be tricky, especially, for first timers or maybe novice bag makers. Like, what are some tricks and tips that you can share the with our company right now, the people, for getting that lining just right and making sure it's smooth and I don't know.
So I use a lot of Super 77, the 3M spray glue. I use a lot of that when I'm lining. I don't do very many like drop in type liners where you build the liner separately and then sew it in. Like if I'm doing a tote style bag or something, I'll do a liner like that. But bags like this, I like to line individual pieces and glue them to it,
Mm,
and then it helps with the rigidity of the bag, and then two, it keeps it from having wrinkles and bubbles and stuff like that. So
that's a good tip.
um other than that, the biggest thing about lining is like now you've got all these edges to worry about. And I've talked about before, that's why I like using the Cordura style fabric. One, it doesn't fray, at least not very easily. I mean, I guess you could force it to fray. Um, but the Cordura fabric is very rigid on its own, and so when using it, it's very easy to keep smooth and flat and all that. It's not something that wants to wrinkle up on you and things. And it's, to me, it's the perfect lining fabric, except it doesn't stretch. That's my
Mm,
only issue with the Cordura fabric, is sometimes when you're sewing a project around a corner or something, you might need that liner to stretch a little bit with the leather, and that Cordura fabric is not going to stretch at all. Like it really can make corners a bear if you need a little bit of wiggle room or stretch in there.
so what would you recommend then? If you're using Cordura for lining, it's better to,
Um, a lot of the time, you might put some little relief cuts in the corners.
mhm.
That'll help it to just kind of be able to fold back over to what it needs to, or whatever. Because a lot of the time, if you're going to use a lining, then you're also going to use a binding, which would be just to cover up all those inside seams. And again, this bag didn't have it, which I said means I made it in a live class. Probably we just don't have time to apply binding. But anyway, the binding will cover up any places like that maybe you had to do relief cuts or anything like that.
Right, right. Rusty said he always just cuts it a little bit big, glues it up, then trims.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. We do the same thing when we're producing bags for burns or anything else. We cut the liners, at least an inch too large on all sides, and that way,
Yeah.
and that way.
I did that. Oh, it's still on.
So the feedback queen over here. Um, just turn your volume all the way down. Or there you go.
Sorry.
So anyway, what were we talking about?
Cordura.
We're talking about liners and cutting
Yeah,
things
so we
big.
always cut it, at least an inch larger on all sides, and then try to, And one thing I've learned, I used to lay the leather down and try to like lay the liner down on the leather, but I've found that it's actually way easier to lay the liner down since it's the softer, more pliable normally than the leather, and then to try to place the leather on top of that. So
Oh, so liner
yep,
first, then leather.
yep.
I like that. That's a good tip. That's a really good tip. Um, okay, let's talk about piping because I think not everything has piping. You don't have to do piping, but let's talk about it. What does it take to do piping? I know it's added preparation, it's an added step, but why would you recommend piping? Let's talk about it, what it takes to make it happen, but then also why do you like piping?
So one of my favorite things about piping is just the look of it. It really does add a level of class and sophistication to your project. But it does serve more purposes than that. When you have a turn seam like that, it kind of fills the gap that when you turn that seam right side out, maybe you would have seen your threads or your stitch holes, if it's pulled tightly in a corner. But with the piping, that's usually going to help disguise that. But then the biggest thing I use it for the most is just the rigidity of it. The piping really helps to keep the shape of a bag and just keep it looking like it should when it's either sitting on the counter or you're wearing it over your shoulder or whatever.
I like that.
Piping can be difficult if you don't have a skiving machine because, like I said, I'll take the same leather I'm making the bag out of and run it through my skiving machine, and that will thin it down to the like ounce and a half that I want to make my piping out of. Um, but if you don't have that, I mean, one of the cool things about piping is it doesn't have to be the same color as the bag. It can
Right.
be, it can be a different color, and that kind of adds a nice accent too.
Yeah, I agree. A little contrast
Yep.
can be a really cool design element. I agree. Um, okay, I have a question. So Trenton, he joined us a little bit late, but he's when we were talking about skiving, he said that he was watching your video, but he didn't skive on the bottom of the strap pieces that go along the pocket. So at the seam on
Mm-hmm.
the bottom where those two straps join in, it might have helped skive those down a little bit.
Yep.
Let's see. Just wasn't thinking about it when I was putting it back together, is what he said. What would you
Yeah. Yeah.
recommend?
You're
It's
just thinning
probably
that out a
just a,
little. Uh, as far as functionality of the bag and being able to, like it's not going to hurt anything, but it just helps that bottom seam look a little bit more squared away and flat if that's flatter where it goes into that stitch line.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, Aaron, tell us how you came up with this build, because getting to know you better this past year, you have always ideas floating in around inside your head. So I'm curious to know what inspired the laptop bag for you.
A lot of people had asked. We had some laptop bags through makers or laptop patterns through makers that were much more basic. The one thing is the more I do this too, the more I'm also figuring things out and able to create something new because I've learned a new way to do things. And like I said, we had some older laptop bag patterns, and they really needed an update. Where I can make such a more professional bag and quality bag than I could have 5, 6, 7 years ago when I probably put out those original patterns. And yeah, and I mean, if I'm going to be gone from my shop more than a couple of days, I carry my laptop with me, and a backpack's not always the most practical bag to carry, that in, and so it was just kind of time to try it out,
Even on vacation.
I
even on
love it.
vacation.
That's That's right. Well, I do love that. Anyone else have any other questions for Aaron? Has anybody built anything with Aaron? I'm curious to know who has, you can just raise your hand in the chat or put something in the chat that if you have taken a class with Aaron. Yeah, I know some of you have. Why? Oh, okay. Rusty's wife did the leather book binding class in Vegas. By the way, that's really cool. It's going to be on the platform soon. Mostly good things to say, he says.
Mostly.
That's awesome. Okay, we did have another question about skiving. I love it. So many. When skiving, what should the thickness be?
So that's another leather dependent
That's
type thing. Sometimes you can skive it down to an inch or an ounce or 2 ounces, but sometimes you should leave it a little bit thicker. It kind of depends on the leather itself, and it's prone to ripping, I guess you could say. Like say Herman Oak 1881 leather. I love that stuff. It's amazing vegetable tanned upholstery and bag type leather. But one thing I learned is if you skive it too thin, then you're going to have problems with heavy wear points, such as on our backpacks, the little pieces that hold the bottom of the shoulder strap. If you skive those a little bit, down to 3 ounces or less, then you might have a problem with those ripping out. And so really you just kind of have to know your leather and do what's comfortable for you with it.
Yeah, I agree. It is hard to say because it does depend on like I would know. I don't make bags, but I do know enough. But it does depend on the leather and the project, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Cool. I love it. This is awesome. Many people, some have been able to learn with you in person, lots online, either through Illume or through YouTube. So that's great. One question for Morgan. She joined a little bit late, but she doesn't have her kit yet. Does the kit include the foam and lining?
It does not. We've sent out lining before, and honestly, we had complaints. People are like, well, I didn't want a dark gray lining. Then don't use it.
Yeah, right.
So honestly, lining is, a lot of people are more particular about what they're lining with than what they're even making the project itself, the outside out of. And so
Right.
we just let it be where people can go pick their own.
Yes. Let's see. Christopher says he's gotten a handful of project boxes and he would love to attend a live course just like Marie. How can we get you to go to Twin Cities in Minnesota? That would probably be a me question.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would ask my boss. Hey, can I go to Minnesota?
It's not that boss,
The other boss.
the main boss.
I know. I'm like, maybe we need to do Aaron on tour on location. We would have to figure out how to make that work, but that could be a definite down the road thing. We'll have to see. Or y'all just need to travel to come see a new maker's location. It's kind of cool. There's that too. A little vacay. Aaron, well, you know what? I will have Aaron get us the link for where he gets his phone, where we get the phone, and then we can drop it in the replay or in the, in that So, or if you have it right now, you can send it to me and I'll
I
drop it.
can get it and I'll Teams it to you right quick, and
Perfect.
you can drop it in there. I don't know how to access it on both here, but I found it just the other day for somebody else, so it won't take me very long.
Sherry asked if you will teach this class at her house if she gets you a bunch of machines.
Sounds like another question for my boss. All right, Derek, I'm going to send you this link because you're already brought up on my Teams here.
Love it. Cheryl, yeah. Cheryl gets hers from Sailrite. I know we do some things with Sailrite. Or you
Yeah,
have.
and I do. That's where I was getting the Cordura fabric. Was from Sailrite. The link I shared is where I get the foam. Sailrite may have it too. I've always bought my foam here, so that was where I know to get it. Part of the reason I know that they do ship and stuff, but it's in Fort Worth, so I just go there and get it, and I buy giant rolls of it at a time, so I don't have to get it but once every 3 or 4 years.
Cool. I love it. And yes, Cheryl, Sailrite does have the quarter.
Cordura, yeah. Cordura, if you're looking it up, it's really hard because there's also corduroy fabric. And if
Don't
you
do that.
Google Cordura, it's going to be like, did you mean corduroy? And anyway, the Cordura, Sailrite does have it. That's where I was getting it for the longest time. When you look at, they've got different blends or thicknesses of it. All you need is the 500D. It's the thinner, cheaper one. You don't need the thicker, more expensive one.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm going to put that down. 500 what?
They call it 500D. The D stands for denier or something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know much about fabric, but I know that that's a fabric thing.
Yep. Sure. For sure. Big duck canvas for 600 denier, says Tammy Mathis. Yes. Very good. Let's see. Somebody asked, trying to keep track of all these here questions. In the course, there is the supplies checklist. And let me see if we reference the where to get the stuff. On some of the things we do reference where to get things. But let me see. No, not for the foam padding, but now we have that link. That might be a consideration that we add to the supplies checklist. Anyways, perfect. Let's see. Have you made one with a bunch of pockets inside, like organized inside?
I have pens and pencils pockets and business card pockets and stuff, and I put them on the laptop sleeve pocket. I just sewed them to that. I also made them out of leather and not fabric. But I mean, that's one of those things that each individual person can easily customize to their liking, and do it that way.
Yeah. It would be fun. It would be fun to get really custom on the interior of the bag. And that's something, I mean, how many of you do custom work? I should say, do you do custom orders, or are you more just doing this for fun, or maybe I try to stay clear of custom and just do these 5 products? I know a lot of people do that, but it could be a lot of fun to do something super custom. But let's see, are the pockets large enough for a mouse and power cord? Oh yeah.
So on the outside of the bag is just one thin pocket. Honestly, throw your cell phone or something in it while you're traveling. On the inside, the only pocket that's on the pattern is just the laptop sleeve. You can easily add things like that. I recently came up with a bag that was to hold a computer and stuff. And the advice was given that, oh, you should make a little bag that holds your charger and mouse and stuff. So then I made that. So, and I actually found that to be better than having pockets inside, to have just an extra little pouch that you can throw in there that has all those things in it.
Yeah, I like that too. A little bag. That's so nice. Okay, lots of custom workers, lots of custom stuff. I guess maybe, yeah. Any other thing? Any other thing that you want to ask Aaron? I feel like I'm asking all the questions. I'm gonna go silent mode until someone asks you a question. You can unmute and talk your voice as well. I do encourage that.
Aaron, how come you're so cool?
You can say how you're so cool. It's
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
How come you're so cool?
You're so cool.
oh, I mean, I've never been the cool kid, so
You're definitely that now, buddy. You're definitely that now. Made a lot of your bags and stuff. We've talked on the phone in the past. Appreciate everything you do for us out here that are really learning. It's a great experience, and thank you very much.
awesome. Well, thank you very much for the feedback on that, and I'm really glad that it's helping and inspiring or whatever else for people. So.
Yeah, on some of these bags, it's been a while from one to the other one, so I'll go back and look just to make sure I don't screw it up and everything is going well. So that's a great positive also.
Right on.
Awesome. Okay, I have a question, another question. Do you prefer a leather binding over Cordura?
So I don't use Cordura for my binding regardless. I have made leather binding in the same way that I make my piping. I just take a strip of leather, thin it down really, really thin, and use it for the binding. But honestly, I usually use what's called double fold bias tape. And I mean, that's exactly what it's made for, is for binding edges and things like that. And it's called double fold because it folds over once and then folds over a second time. And now you have no naked fabric edges anywhere. And that's what I use on most of my bags, just because to me, it has the cleanest appearance once it's installed.
Okay. Where do you get that?
Wawak Sewing, it's WAWAK. Now that I buy giant rolls of it, I get it there. But used to be just I'd go to the local Hobby Lobby or Joann's when it was available, and just get small pieces. They sell it by like 2-yard strips, and but yeah, now I buy a 100-yard roll at a time.
Nice. Okay. I popped that in there. So if anybody wants to check that out. Great question.
Rusty said that binding eludes him. One thing I've learned on some of the binding is I'll go through with my sewing machine and I'll sew the binding. I'll open the binding and I'll just sew it one side of it to the edge, and then I'll fold it closed and then sew it again. And as long as if you're using black binding, use black thread to do that. And it'll be a really nice, clean way to do it, because I used to also try to put the binding on the edge, sew it all at once, and it just doesn't like to work.
Yeah, I can imagine. Cheryl says she uses garment leather, 1 to 1.5 ounce garment leather.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Very good idea.
Aaron, I actually did a bag of a project I got from you, and I had major trouble doing that. Sewing it all at one time instead of doing like you said. That's such a great idea. Now maybe I can be successful and finish that one bag.
Yeah, I've got lots of bags with janky binding until I figured that out.
When I screwed up real bad, I just give it to one of the kids.
They'll appreciate it, right?
Yeah, they do.
Made by Dad.
That's what I did for Christmas one year. I ended up giving them all adopt kits and the girls' makeup bag, so they were all happy.
It's awesome. I love it. Well, I guess I'm gonna look through. I'm gonna look through the course because I want to, if I can see anything else that it would be I guess maybe helpful to talk about. I guess maybe, is there something that we haven't talked about, Aaron? You've taught this class in person. Is there something, or was there something that could use some clarification or a little more explanation for the group, if, for when they go to build their bag?
I feel like we've pretty much hit all the major points that I get asked a lot, in the in-person classes and stuff. I realized that watching a video, when you're watching the video in a couple of days and trying to do it, you're like, oh, dang, I should have asked about this. But it's one of those right now, you truly don't know what you don't know. And so when you are building the project, if you have any questions or anything, you can type them into Illume, and I get those questions within just a few hours. Usually, Rachel usually has them to me about 5 a.m. and then she's always surprised when I immediately answer back because I'm already at work. So
He's Johnny on the spot. You know what? There's also, I do want to point out in the course, it's in the very last module. So there are tons of videos in that module. The module is called Final Steps, but at the very, very end, there's called the Project Cheat Sheet, and it's a really great PDF that you could download and print and have right at your workbench while you're building as well. But I mean, it's really just goes through kind of on paper, step by step as well. So maybe you're booking through stuff and you turn Aaron off for a second, but you have that to reference too. I mean, it goes like it shows, cutting out the pattern, cutting the slots, skiving, shows, it has really great pictures, the small pocket variation shows some pictures. So I would recommend also really dive into all of the really great additional cheat sheets and worksheets and reminders that Rachel, she's our instructional designer, that she has put into the course, because those are there to help you succeed, and they were put there with intention. I don't know if well, you probably know this, maybe you don't, but we film with our instructors, and then Derek edits the video assets, puts the course, what it's going to be together, sends it over to Rachel. She does all the instructional design. And what that means is she kind of, makes sure everything's in order, makes sure we didn't miss anything. And then once she gets it all figured out, we send it. We're lucky. We have a shop full of craftsmen. And so we have access to, 50 people that do this all day, every day in various lanes. And so we have beta testers, and every single course is beta tested. And they, their job as a beta tester is to go through every little thing that we have created for the course and make sure that it makes sense. That they're able to get through the project successfully. They find things that we miss because obviously, as the instructor, you know your process and you know what you're doing. Derek spent hours and hours in the studio listening and videoing the course, and then hours watching the footage and putting it together. So sometimes we miss things, and Rachel's included in that. She watches the courses. She sees all 3 cameras at all times from her home in Louisiana. So it's an intense process, but we do take great care to make sure that you have lots and lots of resources to be successful. So if you have questions, make sure you're diving into all the resources. But obviously, to Aaron's point, we're always here. Just message us in the community. I know you can message right in the course. And we, like Aaron says, Rachel looks at those every single day, gets those, makes sure that the instructors know that those questions are there. And bam, we'll get in touch with you. So, and this is the reason that we have these live events. When we have courses, we want to be able to bring the instructor in and give you guys the opportunity to ask the questions and get some, maybe some more in-depth. I don't know. The courses are pretty in-depth, but just visit and see what's going on. But anyways, that was a little bit long-winded, but there's a whole bunch going on over here in the chat. Let's see. Yes, Tammy, yes, we do show how to do the lining in the course. For sure. And Deborah's asking for a New England trip. So this is something that maybe we just need to talk about in more depth. Aaron on tour, on location.
So honestly, I can give a class anywhere that you can find me a spot to give a class. I recently, I don't remember, some months ago, I went to Oklahoma to the guild up there, and they found me a church that I could, in the church's recreation center. And I brought 3 of my sewing machines, and Janie and I jumped in the truck and went to Oklahoma for the weekend. So I can travel other places and give classes. We just need a little help. I mean, I can't, we can't do it in the Walmart parking lot. They kicked me out.
And you wouldn't want to be out there for that long making bags, right? I love it. I love it. Well, I guess with your help, community, we might be able to get this Aaron on tour on location in the works more quickly. So cool. I like it. Awesome. Well, anything else today? Anyone? Any last questions before I let Aaron give a few last thoughts? Before we let you go? Deep Thoughts by Aaron Heizer.
They don't get that deep.
Okay. Awesome. Well, lots of thanks. Thanks so much, Aaron. Anything that you want to wrap up on just regarding the course and the project box and any other thing?
Yeah. I mean, just thanks for believing in me and makers and everything else enough to invest in this. If you have any problems, I don't want you to struggle. I am not hard to get a hold of. Through Facebook or the Makers of Makers Leather Supply Facebook group or the Makers Leather Supply business Facebook page. Aaron at makersleathersupply.com is my email. Don't struggle. Shoot me a message and we'll get it going.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Thank you, Aaron. I think that's why you're the industry celebrity, because you do make yourself available. And you're pretty authentic. You're kind of likable.
I try.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. We sure hope that this was valuable and worth the time. We appreciate you being part of the Illume family, and we hope to see you next month.
Hey, Misty.
Thanks, everybody.
Tell us what's coming up next month while we still got it.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so next month we have Sarah Garvey is going to be our host, I guess, our guest instructor. So we dropped Sarah's courses this month, and they're really, really great. They build on the course that we dropped with her last year. which was bag prototyping. This is kind of like, okay, the details, like, oh, how should this close? What about the flap? What about the strap? And so, really, really, really good stuff. Sarah's amazing. So if you are interested in any of that, please get this on your calendar. Fourth Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Zoom. You know the drill. We'll send you the link about 30 minutes before the event, and we hope that you will be there. Send us questions prior to, because that helps too. If I can let Sarah know what she might, if she can have something prepared, or maybe we want her to show us something, I know she would do that. So let us know. Let us know if you've got any specific asks, wants, needs, questions on for Sarah. So otherwise, we're excited. We'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.